Sparkling Aura forces the opponent's final Protect Shield, and we are in a dire position. I could go for my famous reverse 2-shield flex, but let's at least see what's in the back. Lapras gonna farm up, fire off the Sparkling Aura, removing Skeledirge from the field of play. Wincon at this point is seeing one Pokemon. However, that Pokemon just so happens to be one of the most common mon in the meta. Cradily, an absolute monster, but it's meeting its worst nightmare. Beedrill, the hardest counter in the entire game. These Bullet Seeds double resist the opponent, debuff Beedrill's attack, but it simply does not matter, as Beedrill will be emerging victorious. GG's, and thanks for playing. Welcome back to the channel. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Jamie Finn 1415. Back in the day, I was the first documented trainer in the world to reach legend only using Shadow Pokemon, and there are two things that I like in Pokemon Go PvP. That's Shadow Pokemon and anti-meta Spice. Today, we have the perfect combination of both, as we're taking a look at PvPoke's 357th ranked pick, Shadow Beedrill. This certainly is not the first time I've used Shadow Beedrill. Back in Season 10, when the meta was full of Pokemon like Trevenant, Metachan, Registeel, Alolan Ninetales and Bastiodon, I was able to navigate Shadow Beedrill in a very similar team composition to this. We just had Swampert over Lapras all the way to Legend rank. What do I mean by anti-meta? Well, what I mean is I'm going to pick a Pokemon and I'm going to target specific top meta threats, and despite its abysmal ranking on PvPoke, I'm going to have a lot of success. If you look at the current meta and you look across YouTube, people are currently hyping up Pokemon like Galarian Weezing, Pokemon like Swallow, two things that we can hit for massive super effective damage with that drill run. Dark types are also pretty common, and there's also a lot of fairies. Weezing, of course, is a fairy, and Azumeril, no matter what the meta shakeup is, it is always going to be here, there, and everywhere. As previously mentioned, Beedrill is currently ranked 357th on PvPoke, but the rankings don't necessarily tell you the entirety of the story. PvPoke just plays out a load of 0, 1 or 2 shield scenarios, which Beedrill doesn't perform particularly well into. However, the way I use Beedrill is I'm not scared to give up switch advantage, jump in and out of matchups and navigate Beedrill in a position where it's got energy advantage and it's able to take advantage of its hard hitting charge moves. Without any further ado, let's get into the battle. And in game 1, your boy over here has selected the wrong Beedrill like an absolute potato. This is going to be the first and only battle where we're using the regular variant. Of course, I didn't intend to select this Pokemon. The opponent didn't farm up to a Stone Edge, so I was happy to tank the Mud Bomb. I then catch the second Mud Bomb onto Sableye, banking my energy on Beedrill in the process. Quagsire happy to stay in. Sableye able to reach the foul play, winning the charge attack priority, removing Quagsire from the field of play. Out comes Venusaur. Venusaur not going to be able to reach the Frenzy Plant before Sableye reaches the foul play. Foul play forces the first Protect Shield. The opponent looking for that full Vine Whip farm down. My Sableye a perfect 0, 15, 15, hold strong. Reaches the second foul play, forcing the opponent all shields down. Beedrill, in theory, a complete wall to Venusaur's energy, but we're severely chipped, and at this range, a Frenzy Plant or Sludge Bomb would pick up the knockout. The opponent fire off the Frenzy Plant, they're doubled up, but Beedrill wins that charge attack priority, and Venusaur will be getting removed from the field of play. The opponent sends out Clodsire. Drill Run will be super effective. We bank the Drill Run for the road, pivot into Lapras, and this game is signed, sealed, and delivered. I was hoping when I sent out Shadow Lapras, the opponent would concede the match, and I could head to battle with the correct Shadow Beedrill, but I guess if the opponent wants that work, who am I not to give it to him? We land the Sparkling Aura, Sidewave farm down, and we're off to a very quick 1-0 start. Heading into the next battle, Shadow Beedrill makes an appearance, and we're off to a very nice start. The opponent doesn't farm to the overheat. We can easily tank a Sludge or Brutal Swing. The opponent fire off the Sludge, which is resisted but still does a lot. Beedrill maximises energy, throwing the Drill Run on the charge attack priority and looks to pick up a knockout. Down goes Galarian Weezing. The opponent sends out Dusclops, and we see the pivot into Shadow Sableye. In this battle of ghost types, Sableye are very much dominant, as we've got a sub-dark type in, meaning the opponent's ghost type damage only hits us for neutral, whereas we're hitting for super effective. The opponent continues to stay in. We fire off the foul play, forcing the opponent's first Protect Shield. The opponent clearly weak to Sableye in the back, so I'm going to shield up the next Shadow Punch, and then fire off one further Shadow Claw and the foul play for good timing. Foul play forces the opponent all shields down, and at this point, I'm happy to let Sableye go down. I think the core of Beedrill and Lapras pretty good, to be honest, and I'm more than happy with a shield advantage looking to clean up. The opponent sends out Dusknoir, running a double ghost strategy. We farm up, look to catch the dynamic punch onto Beedrill. The opponent goes for a cheeky masturbating session, but no bait. We'll be saving this Dust Noir's fate. Lapras re-enters the arena, fires off a Sparkling Aura. Sparkling Aura isn't quite lethal. We've still got that shield to hide behind. I'm going to shield this move up, Psywave farm down. When Dusclops does return, we've got that Sparkling Aura locked and loaded, and we're going to be able to take that game. GG's that opponent. Heading into the next battle, I'm in trouble. Beedrill, terrible into Pidgeot. Sableye, not much better, but at least we're only taking neutral from this oppressive Legacy Gust damage. We fire off the Foul Play. Foul Play obtains me an early shield advantage. Even if the opponent's on Feather Dance, most Shadow Pidgeot run Air Cutter or Aerial Ace. Even a Feather Dance will pick up the knockout. We have obtained ourselves a shield advantage, but this Pidgeot's still going to be a problem. Of course, I wait out my clock, send out Lapras. Lapras, going to farm up, fire off the Sparkling Aura, and look to remove Pidgeot from the field of play. The opponent go all in on the bird, and at this point, this is probably a Feather Dance, but I do need to keep some health. I actually intentionally didn't throw my Sparkling Aura at the best timing, as I anticipated a no shield. I didn't want to take yet another oppressive Gust damage. However, it doesn't work out for me, as the opponent more than happy to two-shield their lead, and I lose almost all of Lapras' health. Of course, with double debuff, I pivot out into Beedrill to reset that debuff, and unfortunately, out comes Marowak. Even with a shield advantage, we're not going to be able to outpace the back-to-back charge moves. In neutral situations, Drill Run does ever so slightly more. I actually checked on PvPoke afterwards, so X-scissor does 65 in this matchup, and Drill Run does one additional with 66. Of course, Lapras far too low. We're not going to be able to Psywave farm down, and we get absolutely destroyed. But that's sometimes how the Go Battle League goes. GG's that opponent. Heading into the next battle, we see Beedrill into Clodsire. This is one of the matchups I'm talking about, which is much better if you've got a shield advantage or an energy lead. Both Beedrill and Clodsire pace at the same speed to the Drill Run and Stone Edge. I try and catch a Stone Edge onto Sableye unsuccessfully. Clodsire does expend energy, firing off the Earthquake, then out comes Jumpluff. We're able to fire off a charge move on the CMP tie. As I was going for a CMP tie, I throw the Dazzling Gleam, as it does do more if you only reach in one move. Aerial Ace picks up the knockout. I'm going to wait out my clock. I'm going to send out Beedrill. I'm going to farm up, throw the X-scissor on the CMP tie, looking to keep both shields intact. X-scissor forces the Protect shield, and that more than works for me, as this Jumpluff is now nothing but free farm. So Beedrill has a very healthy attack stat, hence I keep throwing on CMP, maximising my farm. The opponent doesn't want to concede a farm down, send back out Clodsire, so once again I ensure I've got a Drill Run banked for the endgame, knowing I'll likely win CMP against what's in the back, and send out Lapras to operate as the damage sponge. The opponent fire off back-to-back sludges. I'm going to heavily overfarm, leaving minimal farm for whatever should come out, and fire off the Sparkling Aura. Sparkling Aura forces the protection. The opponent looks for that Poison Sting farm down. Lapras says no, reaches the Sparkling Aura, removing Clodsire from the field of play. I am spamming the switch, looking to keep Lapras as the third shield. Back out comes Jumpluff. Jumpluff gets farmed down, and out comes Azumeril. Beedrill absolutely about to run Rampant Poison Jabs, hitting for huge super effective damage, and these neutral Drill Runs add up as well. Azumeril going to be able to tank the next Drill Run, but one further Poison Jab removes them from the field of play, and Beedrill pops off. Heading into the next battle, another atrocious lead. So in matchups like this, even against the Pidgeot, you saw me do it as well. I'm able to fire off one Poison Jab and transfer the Incinerate onto one of the back two Pokemon, usually Sableye, which is operating as my safe switch. Out comes Gastrodon. This is only a body slam, which I know I survived. I'm going to try and throw 4 Shadow Claws and the charge move. However, I recognise that Mud Slap will knock me out, so I end up throwing an alignment and go for the harder hitting Dazzling Gleam again, maximising my damage. This now sets up a situation where Beedrill will be able to farm down and get a decent amount of farm as well, as ground does resist poison. Beedrill does get that Poison Jab farm down when Talonflame returns. Again, one Poison Jab, maximising my energy I can get, and a safe switch into Lapras. I do shield in case the opponent go for the Brave Bird. It's just a flame charge, but that's fine for me. Lapras going to be able to outpace by a single turn to the Sparkling Aura, forcing the opponent's final Protect shield. Lapras has now Psywaved this into range where Beedrill can handle it. So I'm actually more than happy to save the final shield for Beedrill. The opponent goes for that Incinerate farm down. Beedrill fires off one Poison Jab and the Drill Run. Drill Run removes Talonflame from the field of play. It's Venusaur in the back, and Beedrill going to be able to clean up, and the opponent concedes the match. GG's that opponent. I think that matchup was a prime example of, even in matchups that Beedrill is dreadful into, you can kind of dance in and out, get energy here and there, and make it work for you. In the next battle, we see a fantastic lead and a very, very spicy safe switch. Hisuian Typhlosion. We shield up the Wild Charge, go for the one shield, full Shadow Claw farm down. The opponent doesn't want to send Primate back into the arena, as of course we've probably got Dazzling Gleam. Well, of course I do have Dazzling Gleam, but it's not like the opponent knows my moveset. They instead send out Steelix, and Steelix is going to get hit with Foul Play after Foul Play. We're able to force our Protect Shield back. Even a Breaking Swipe won't be lethal from here. The opponent actually go for the Psychic Fangs, which is even better for me. I'm going to farm up, throw this Foul Play at the very last second. In case the opponent doesn't shield, I want to leave minimal farm for that Primate. The opponent goes all in on their shiny Steel Snake, and we're just going to send out Lapras to operate as the damage sponge. In situations like this, I'm always looking top right, anticipating the opponent looking to switch out into Primate at some stage. Steelix continues to stay in, fire off one further Psychic Fangs, which simply doesn't get the job done. We overfarm, fire off the Sparkling Aura. It lands on its intended target, quick switch back out into Beedrill, and this game's over. Even if the opponent would have switched out into Primate at some stage, this game still would have been a dub. Of course, I could have just looked to overfarm, and Drill Run would have removed Steelix from the field of play. But like this, Drill Run knocks out Primate, and we take that game. In the next battle, we see Malamar in the lead position. Despite me running a Bug, and Bug hitting their Psychic Dark type in for double super effective, of course, we're running a Poison type quick move, so this is an atrocious matchup in the 2-shield scenario. I'm going to say switch into Sableye. I heavily overfarm, fire off the Foul Play. The opponent looks to tank the charge move, and that's fine for me. I'm happy to let Sableye go down, wait out my clock, and send out Beedrill looking for an energy lead. I very rarely bait. However, when I'm using Beedrill, I'd much prefer to be able to get energy on my Pokemon, rather than the opponent able to farm down one of my low health Pokemon. Hence I think Foul Play there made sense. Out comes Skeledirge. I do stay in, fire off the Drill Run, looking to obtain myself a shield advantage, but Skeledirge, very advantageous with an energy lead into my back line. Most run Torch Song, so I opt to tank the first move, and I already think that could be a mistake. Lapras gonna overfarm, fire off the Sparkling Aura. Sparkling Aura forces the opponent's final Protect Shield, and uh-oh, I'm in trouble. I haven't done my famous reverse 2-shield flex to this point in the video, and we're at least gonna see what's in the back. We shield up the Torch Song, fire off the Sparkling Aura. Sparkling Aura picks up the knockout. We are in a dire position. Win cons at this point are essentially the opponent having one Pokemon in the back. And that Pokemon happens to be a top meta threat, and its name is Cradily. Just like magic, Cradily enters the arena. Beedrill might be deep in the red, but these Bullet Seeds hitting for double resisted damage. The opponent unable to farm us down, and Beedrill deep in the red, going to take down a top meta threat. GG's, and thanks for playing. Heading into the next battle. Come on, yet another Malamar lead. We're going to say switch into Sableye. The opponent pivots out into Steelix. This works for me, to be honest. I think the opponents give me far too much of an energy lead, as we're going to obtain that magical shield advantage I'm so looking for. The opponent shield the first Foul Play. Sableye says there's plenty more of where that came from, and we're still outside of Breaking Swipe range. Again, my rank 1 Sableye comes in clutch time and time again. Breaking Swipe doesn't get the job done. I undertap the Foul Play, and now the opponent's got a decision to make. The opponent concedes switch advantage. We now got shield advantage and switch advantage. Usually that would be a great spot to be in, but I don't really have a great way of dealing with this Malamar with a huge energy lead. I'm kind of forced to send back out Beedrill. My poison jabs at least hit for neutral. Lapras would be hitting for triple resisted with the sideways, and Superpower would do a lot. I very quickly burn both protection. The opponent then attempts an X as a catch onto Marowak. I bank a bucket load of energy, and Lapras hits the field of play. Even Shadow and Shadow Crime. One non-stab Rock Slide simply will not cut it. I'm going to throw this Sparkling Aura at the very last second. Leave a minimal farm for Malamar should the opponent wish to tank the damage. The opponent invests their final Protect Shield, leave with a charge move, forcing me to throw a charge instantly, looking to deny their energy. Can the opponent Sideway farm me down? Before the X-scissors reach, they cannot. Beedrill holds strong, reaches the X-scissor, and we just about take that game. Very, very close. GG's that opponent. I think if the opponent saved their shield for Malamar in that game, the outcome would have been different. When Lapras actually survived that Mud Slap and one further tooth, the opponent certainly could have farmed down with Malamar, leaving with that charge move they required to win the game. However, it is what it is. Heading into the next battle, we see Swallow in the lead. The opponent fire off the Ice Beam, then make the pivot into Sableye. I fire off the X-scissor, hits for neutral, and a lot of neutral damage at that. I then enter the mirror. I'm going to go for the one shield, full Shadow Claw farm down, leaving with a whole heap of residual energy good to go. Shadow Sableye energy usually go places, and out comes Azumeril. This is certainly a matchup where my Dazzling Gleam certainly does a lot of neutral damage, about 40% to be honest. You can see with the Shadow Claws, they already find themselves in the yellow. The opponent could have Ice Beamed there, but opt not to, so I'm going to throw 2 Shadow Claws and the Dazzling Gleam, looking to get it off. The opponent banked the Play Rough, and then send out Swallow. So in this situation, I am not switching out. I'm going to force the opponent to expend energy. I don't want to switch lock myself. The opponent is going to overfarm, probably fire off a Sludge. Sludge is resisted, but will be lethal from here. I didn't go for the classic you switch, I switch strategy, as I want to give myself the potential to make a catch. I haven't seen Swallow into Shadow Lapras yet, but it looks like I certainly am not going to need to make a catch to win this battle, as these Sludges, despite getting same type attack bonus, simply are not cutting it. The opponent pivots back out into Azumeril just to get farm down. Swallow enters the arena and the opponent concedes the match. Heading into the next battle, we see Goodra in the lead. Beedrill and Goodra will pace at the same speed, taking 12 turns to the Aquatail and X-scissor respectively. The opponent doesn't play 2 CMP, tank the X's, and I send out Sableye, looking to operate as a damage sponge. This isn't enough for a Draco, so whatever they throw should be an easy tank. They fire off the Aquatail, Sableye tanks the damage, Shadow Claw farms down, and out comes the Quagman. I attempt to throw the Dazzling Gleam on the CMP type, maximise my damage, but the opponent actually continued to overfarm, and even tank the charge move, then overfarm far too much, end up playing to the CMP tie, and this game already looks over. The opponent farms up to double Aquatail, if that's their moveset. They throw a Mud Bomb, so it's likely Mud Bomb Stone Edge, but with that in mind, the opponent isn't going to be able to reach a Stone Edge on Lapras, so Lapras is going to come in and operate as the damage sponge. Mud Bomb doesn't do too much of anything, and Lapras does get the Sideway farm down. Out comes Mandibuzz. Mandibuzz has a pretty decent matchup into my 2 remaining Pokemon, but not at a shield disadvantage. The opponent fire off the foul play. Big bad Lapras tanks that no problem whatsoever. And I'm going to go straight Sparkling Aura and just force this energy. The opponent needs to throw a charge move. Lapras reaches one further Sparkling Aura. Where does the opponent burn the final Protect Shield? The opponent reluctant to invest it. And I know my win con at this point is just going to be the fast move beatdown. Mandibuzz is going to need to reach 3 Aerial Aces before they run out of HP. I usually say this is a very boring, bulky, annoying Vulture, but Beedrill's Poison Jab damage going to make quick work of the remaining HP. The opponent playing it out to the very bitter end. Beedrill going to invest that Protect Shield, Poison Jab farm down, and this one ends in a dub. GG's that opponent. In the next battle, we see Dugong in the lead, so Sableye is the team that designated Safe Switch. However, this team, much like the Kabuto team I used yesterday, there's certain matchups where I will say switch Lapras, and this is one of them, as I'm going to attempt to catch a double resisted Icy Wind onto Lapras, rather than take the neutral damage. The catch attempt is unsuccessful, but the opponent go for the Icy Wind anyway, which does absolutely nothing. That is a double resisted charge move from a very bulky Pokemon. The opponent then fire off the Drill Run. The opponent continues to stay in. They might think they fully won my moveset, but I've got Skull Bash, even debuff Skull Bash, picks up the knockout, and Drapion hits the field of play. Lapras gonna fire off the Sparkling Aura. Sparkling Aura, to my surprise, forces the Protect Shield. A bit of a strange shield, to be honest, as we was debuffed. Lapras with a +1 defense and a -1 attack. Should have still been in crunch range. The opponent go for one of the worst baits I've seen in my 22 seasons of Go Battle League. My top tip for the day is do not bait such a bulky Pokemon. Beedrill re-enters the arena, once again able to win the charge attack priority. X-scissor picks up the knockout. Out comes Fickersby. Pretty advantageous to my 2 remaining Pokemon. We've got a 2-0 shield advantage, and the opponent concedes the match. In the next battle, we see Big Man Blastoise. I think Blastoise is a very fun Pokemon in the meta. Rollouts, of course, are hitting for super effective, but rollout more for energy generation than fast move damage. I fire off the X-scissor, anticipate the opponent going for good timing, so we throw one Poison Jab. We're able to catch the Hydro Cannon onto Lapras. Out comes Serperior. I could have faked an Ice Beam there, but I was actually committing to the Skull Bash, wanting the damage, or just looking to force the energy. Frenzy Plant picks up the knockout, and this is now the opportunity where Beedrill can go for the 1 shield, a full farm down, and leave absolutely loaded. We already know that Beedrill's energy goes many places. Blastoise, one off Hydro Cannons. If they return, I'm going to throw 1 Poison Jab and the X-scissor. And we're now going to be able to win CMP. The opponent actually don't throw their charge move. Doesn't really matter, to be honest. X-scissor still picks up the knockout. The opponent then sends out Cradilly, and we all know how this one's going to end. If you take away the few sideways Lapras got off, Beedrill has removed every single HP of every single Pokemon. Beedrill, you monster. In the next battle, we see Altaria in the lead. What the heck is this? Like season 9 or something? I am getting flashbacks to the early season. We say switch into Sableye. I overfarm by 1, and the opponent makes a savage catch, catching the Dazzle Gleam onto Clodsire. Under turn, I'm going to farm up. Look to throw the foul play on the CMP type, but the opponent not falling for any of my shenanigans whatsoever. Or are they? The opponent overfarms too much, end up playing to the CMP tie, and we do manage to maneuver ourselves a little cheeky advantage here in the mid-game matchup. The opponent full send an Earthquake, so that certainly suggests that Sludge Bomb is going to be their second move. If they had Stone Edge, they would have thrown it as it is cheaper and would have been lethal. With that in mind, I'm going to send out Beedrill, use it as a damage sponge, and then send out Lapras, looking for the farm down before they even reach the Sludge Bomb. Lapras now has shield advantage and an energy lead. Out comes Big Man Blastoise. If the opponent farm up to a Skull Bash, I will be respecting it. We're also going to full send a Skull Bash. Skull Bash rocks Blastoise into the red. The opponent does farm up the 6 rollouts required to a potential bash. The opponent fire off the Hydro Cannon bait, but they're only going to reach a departing Hydro Cannon. So I've actually got an X-scissor banked. So rather than full sending a Skull Bash, I know that I just need to get damage off on that thing. So what I'm going to do is go straight Sparkling Aura. We shield up the Sky Attack, throw the first Sparkling Aura. The opponent can tank one, but the Sideways will certainly put them in a range where the next one is going to threaten a knockout. And at this point, I'm just going to stay in, force the opponent to throw, or we're just going to get off enough Sidewave damage, putting them into X-scissor range. Altaria, you might think you're a Beedrill counter confirmed, but Beedrill has a little something to say about that. X-scissor picks up the knockout. We poison jab farm down Blastoise and take that game. Heading into the next battle, we see some Shadow and Shadow Crown. This is a type neutral matchup, but Dragonair is favoured as the Dragon Rest do more than our poison jab damage. Again, I'm going to opt to save switch into Lapras. Both Beedrill and Sableye are very, very glassy Pokemon, so I do use Lapras to absorb energy when I can, looking to save my shields and health. Out comes Big Man Blastoise. Hopefully the opponent doesn't have Skull Bash. The opponent do Skull Bash and remove Lapras from the field of play. We've now got an over half health, buffed up Blastoise to contend with. Beedrill, not going to appreciate the rollout damage after taking so much Dragon Breath damage. I'm going to send out Sableye, invest the Protect Shield and always over farm, ensuring I've got residual energy good to go. Foul play, forces the Protect Shield, the opponent throws on alignment, potentially even with a buffed up defense, 4 Shadow Claws knock out. The opponent not wanting to risk a farm down, pivot back out into Dragonair. I'm going to over farm and fire off the foul play. The opponent sack Dragonair, saving their final Protect Shield. We don't know what's in the back, but whatever gets sent out is going to be switch locked. Out comes Shadow Lapras. These Sideways are hitting for double resisted damage as Dark does double resist Psychic. And I'm thinking, how do I want to play this? Foul play, force the Protect Shield. I'm then going to bank the foul play, attempt a CMP sack swap. So the opponent now receiving the energy for the Sparkling Aura, which they were throwing. We're able to land massive damage. The opponent doesn't go for the undercharge. Opt to fully charge the Sparkling Aura, and Sableye will be on cleanup duty. I tell everyone I'm washed up, to be honest. I'm nowhere near as good as I once was. But this matchup was pretty well played, in my humble opinion, and we will be emerging victorious. GG's. I think nowadays I just lack in-game goals. Since about season 14, I haven't took Go Battle League or battling in general anywhere near as seriously as I used to. I make far too many mistakes. I think if Niantic or Scopely, who now own the company, gave us something past Legend rank, I'd zone back in, but until then I just really do struggle for motivation. In this battle we've currently got on the screen, we saw Thickersby in the lead position. I attempt to catch a Fire Punch onto Sableye, unsuccessfully, and out comes Drapion. So a few times in today's video you've seen my rank 1 Sableye come in clutch. However here we've seen one of the drawbacks of it. An attack-weighted Drapion can win a CMP tie against a 0-15-15 Sableye, the opponent able to deny all of my energy, and we're in a dire position. We land the X-scissor, make the pivot into Lapras, the opponent stays in, lightly fishing for a debuff with a Scorching Sand. No debuff does occur, and out comes the Quagman. The opponent's still with 2 shields. I'm not entirely sure what my win con is at this point. We're able to force a Protect Shield. The opponent does need to full send a Stone Edge to knock me out. Jamie, are you going to reverse 2 shield flex? I think here I should always shield and look to get the next Sparkling Aura off. I trust in Pidgeot, but you're going to see my opponent here is going to make such a smart play. They're just going to commit to fast moves. Mud Shots hitting for neutral, and Beedrill not exactly bulky. These Mud Shots looking like Mud Slaps. We fire off the X-scissor, the opponent invests the Protect Shield. We are going to be able to fire off one further X-scissor, which will be removing the Quagman from the field of play, but Thickersby very easily going to be able to quick attack farm me down. And there is the famous reverse 2 shield flex you see in every single video where I feature my own battles. GG's to that opponent. In the next battle, we see yet more Shadow and Shadow Crime. This one is an oppressive fast move beatdown. The opponent throw on alignment, so I invest the Protect Shield, bank my energy, and send out Sableye. My Sableye once again is answered by Drapion. This time we're able to get off the Dazzling Gleam, forcing us a shield advantage here in the mid-game matchup. My opponent heavily overfarms before looking to pick up a knockout with a crunch. I'd love the opponent's Aquatail bait for no reason whatsoever, but the opponent smartly falls in the crunch, removing me from the field of play. Beedrill has energy good to go. X-scissor hits for neutral. I'm not sure of his X-scissor range, so I play it safe. Fire off the drill run, removing them from the field of play. Out comes Dragonite. Dragonite just gets farmed down, and it is Dugong in the back. Dugong used to be an absolute menace in the Great League, but now Lapras has Psywave. Dugong, you've been weighed, you've been measured, and you've been found wanting. Lapras now the premier at Ice type. We fire off the Skull Bash. Skull Bash rocks Dugong into the red health range, and Lapras reminds everyone why Dugong shouldn't be used anymore, and we take that game. And that is just about going to wrap things up for today's video. I think it's safe to say, despite Beedrill's 357th ranking on PvPoke, if you've got good energy management, you've got an idea of how to maneuver it in and out of matchups, it's got play into so many top meta threats. I'll be honest, I currently have zero ideas on what to run in the Go Battle League. I haven't really got any motivation to play, so if you've got a fun team idea for me, post it down below and I'll head back to battle. If you're enjoying the content, smash that like button if you're new, consider subscribing if you like your battles featured on my channel. A link to our battle submission form is down below, and as always, a huge thanks to everyone for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.